Hello, welcome to video 4, where we will cover setting up a project within the Cloud IDE in the web app. From here on out, we will do our development work here and query our outputs within a Snowflake worksheet. Now that we are ready to begin modeling, we want to make sure we have two target schemas for profiles to materialize the modeled data and to manage runs, one for development and QA and another for production. I will create those schemas now and grant our warehouse role full access to these two schemas. First, I will create one for production called User Profiles. Then I will create one for development called User Profiles Dev. I also granted our Profiles Snowflake role all the necessary permissions needed to operate within these schemas. Now, let's set up a new project. Click on the Unify tab within the control plane, then click Create Project. There, you will be prompted to either connect an already existing project configuration or to start from scratch within the IDE. Because Secure Solutions does not yet have a project, we will need to start fresh. We will click on the IDE option. I will name this project Secure Solutions User Profiles and then select the warehouse we will use. You can see after we select our warehouse, all the credentials are inherited from the previously defined Snowflake destination. These credentials are synonymous with your local site config file you would use for local development. The one change we will make here is adding a new schema for profiles to operate in. Recall the two profile schemas we created earlier, User Profiles and User Profiles Dev. This is where you will want to input your production schema, User Profiles. We will show how to run the Profiles project in this production schema in a later video. I will click Continue and verify the connection. Now your project is created. I will now hop directly into the IDE so we can begin development. After clicking on that option, it will prompt you to input a schema again. This is referring to the schema you now want to populate during your development session. This is where we will enter in the Development Schema User Profiles Dev. All right, we are in the IDE now. Let's do a quick orientation. We have the directory tree to the left, text editor in the center, and IDE buttons on the top and right side. After making edits to current files, adding new files, or deleting files, you can view your diff by clicking View Changes. You can reset the session and undo all changes by clicking Reset. After editing, to save your project configuration, click Save. This saves the configuration within your current session, and you can later return to the same session. After configuring your project, you can click on Run, and Profiles will compile all the YAML, generate SQL based on your configuration, deploy it to your warehouse, and produce the outputs in your target schema. To commit a change to your production project within the UI and a connected version controlled repo, click Commit here. Note, if a project configuration is committed, it will only materialize your views and tables in your production schema if you run the project outside of the IDE. Clicking Run within the IDE will only output to the dev schema we defined at the beginning of this session. Additionally, it is important to note even if you do not have a connected cloud repo for your project, in order to run this configuration in production or to download the config locally, you have to press Commit. If you do have a connected cloud repo, this will push your changes to the main branch of that repo. To exit your editor session, click Exit on the top right. If you exit a development session, you can go back into the IDE by clicking on Editor Mode within the Settings tab. RudderStack will then ask you if you want to continue the previously edited session, in which case, you would not have to declare a target schema, or start in a new develop session. If you start a new development session, you will have to specify a target schema for the run to materialize in. Both options will still retain your previous project configuration, as long as it was saved and committed. Let's now do a quick high-level overview of the folder structure. A fresh profiles project will have one file at the root called pb_project_yaml. This file is used to define the project's name and other various project configurations. You will see a connection key. This is used to reference a warehouse connection file if developing locally. You will notice a models folder key. This tells profiles where your model configurations are within the directory. Within the model directory, you will have two YAML files, inputs.yaml and profiles.yaml. The inputs file is where we will define our data sources for profiles to extract data from. The profiles.yaml file is where we will define our ID Stitcher model as well as our attributes we want to compute. We will cover this in more detail in a later video. Further down the PB project YAML file, we have our entity definition as well as the ID types. We will cover defining an entity in more detail in the next video. Keep in mind that there is a lot of flexibility with how you structure the project and how many YAML files you may want or need to create. When Profiles runs, it will compile all of your configuration files into one big YAML and parse it accordingly. For now, we will stick with the example structure provided on the initialization of the project and modify only if we see the need. In the next video, we will create our first entity definition, as well as define the ID types associated with that entity.